One particularly nasty stereotype: immigrants are criminals. Hello, welcome to All Things Immigrants and Society podcast. Let's break barriers, change the narrative, and navigate this path together. You're not alone. I'm your host, Dr. Iwo. Welcome back to All Things Immigrants and Society, or as I like to call it, ATIS. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I'll entreat you to watch our introductory episode to know what ATIS is all about. Today I want us to set the stage as we embark on this journey. Let's talk about arrival stories, not the ones with desperate border crossings. No, we're talking about someone like Andy Grove. Andy Grove arrived in the United States as a refugee fleeing Hungary after the revolution. He spoke barely any English. He had nothing but the shirt on his back. Now fast forward a few years, Grove co-founded Intel. Yeah, that Intel. The one inside your computers, your phones, basically powering the modern world. You may be wondering, Grove is special, Grove is unique. No. Grove's story as an immigrant in the United States is not unique. It is the story of countless immigrants who come to this country, work their asses off, and contribute massively to the fabric of the American society. They're entrepreneurs, doctors, scientists, teachers. They are the backbone of this nation. But sadly, their stories often get drowned out by a chorus of fear and misinformation. It's time to turn on the volume on the truth. Let's dive into the numbers, folks. As of 2022, 22.6% of entrepreneurs in the United States were immigrants. We're talking here about 3,688,100 immigrant entrepreneurs, and their total income was about $110 billion. When you look at the immigrant household contribution, hundreds of billions of dollars is contributed in federal, state, and local taxes. And these immigrants hold a tremendous spending power in the United States. In the same year, 2022, immigrant household income was about $2.1 trillion, and they had a spending power of about $1.6 trillion. They contributed about $194.5 billion to Social Security and about $53.6 billion to Medicare. They made total tax payments of both federal and state tax of about $576.9 billion. Now, as I promised you, I do have more statistics coming your way as we embark on this journey. You see, when it comes to the economy, immigrants aren't just contributing, they are excelling. Studies show that immigrant-owned businesses create jobs at a faster rate than those owned by native-born Americans. They're more likely to start businesses, period. Think about it. Starting a business takes guts. It takes resilience and a willingness to take risks. These are all qualities that many immigrants have in abundance. They have already made the biggest leap of faith by coming to a new country, most of them carrying just their dreams in their bags. So starting a business, that's a piece of cake for immigrants. Look at the Fortune 500 companies, the giants of American industry. Over 40% of those were founded by immigrants or their children. These aren't just statistics. They are success stories written in bold entrepreneurial ink. And so ignoring these contributions is not just ignorant, it's economic suicide. Now let's address the elephant in the room, or rather the myth about the people in the room. One particularly nasty stereotype: immigrants are criminals. Here's the reality. Studies consistently show immigrants as less likely to commit crimes than native-born Americans. Another germ, immigrants are stealing our jobs. Actually, immigrants often take the jobs that Americans do not want. The back-breaking, low-wage jobs, the jobs that keep our economy running. Plus, they create jobs with their businesses. Now, these stereotypes aren't just inaccurate, they are very dangerous. They dehumanize an entire group of people, fueling prejudice and discrimination and hate. We can't let fear and ignorance win. We need to deal with facts, not fiction, not fear, not imagination. Let's be clear. Crime is a serious issue, but blaming crime on immigrants is like blaming the weatherman for the rain. It is a lazy, simplistic answer to a complex problem that exists in the United States. You have officials calling immigrants criminals. You hear people say they are giving us their worst. They're giving us people from their mental institutions. They're giving us people from their jails. Let's be clear. Criminals come in all shapes, sizes, and yes, even nationalities. Focusing on an immigrant's background instead of their actions is not just unfair. It's a distraction from the real issue. We need to hold individuals accountable for their actions, regardless of where they are born. Justice should be blind to immigration status. Justice should focus on the individual that commits the crime. And for any individual who commits a crime in the United States, they ought to be held accountable. And so it is a very hasty generalization. It is a very fallacious statement to group immigrants as criminals. Focusing on one's immigration status, other than holding them accountable for the crime they have committed, is a perversion of the very values that this country claims to uphold. Think about the most delicious, satisfying, soul-warming meal that you've ever had. The chances are it wasn't just one ingredient that made it special. It was the combination, the blend of flavors, the spices, and everything that made it sing. America is that dish, and immigrants are the spices in that dish. Immigrants bring their cultures, their languages, their traditions. They make this country a vibrant tapestry of human experience. Imagine America without jazz, without pizza, without tacos, without Afrobeat. Unimaginable, right? That's the power of diversity, the beauty of a nation built by immigrants for immigrants. And so it's easy to forget, sitting in our comfortable bubbles, that for many immigrants, the journey to America is born out of necessity, not choice. They are fleeing war, persecution, poverty, and they are risking everything for a shot at a better life for themselves, their children, and their family. Imagine that for a second. Leaving everything you know behind, venturing into the unknown, facing prejudice and discrimination and hate. That takes courage. That takes resilience. That is a level of strength that most of us can only imagine. And so instead of building walls, let's build bridges of understanding, bridges of empathy, bridges of compassion. Let's meet fear with facts, ignorance with education, and hate with an open arm. America's story has always been intertwined with immigration. It's in our DNA, the very foundation upon which this country was built. And the future is always bright. It's stronger and more vibrant because of the contributions of immigrants. So let's celebrate their entrepreneurial spirit. Let's celebrate their resilience. Let's celebrate their unwavering belief in the American dream, their cultures. And so let's work together to create a society where everyone, regardless of where they were born, has the opportunity to thrive. After all, isn't that what makes America truly great? The promise of a better tomorrow built by people from all walks of life, working together towards a common goal. Let's not forget that as we embark on this journey. If you're tuning in for the very first time, like, subscribe, and share this podcast with somebody who might benefit from it. Until next time, I remain your host, Dr. Ewu.